Hello, everybody. I'm Tara, I'm your host today. I'm here with Maylee from France. Today we are focusing on using acrylic wash. If you don't know what acrylic wash is, don't worry about it. That's what we're here for. Maylee is going to tell you all about it and how to use gouache and watercolor together if you don't have acrylic wash. Um, Today's demo is designed to share Maylee's talents with everybody and give you a taste of what's to come in her mini workshop on July 13th. Before I let Maylee get started, there's just a couple of things that I need to take care of for Etchr. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll get updates. And our next live demo is Friday, June 18th at 7 p.m. featuring illustrator Kimberly Johnson. I'm going to drop a link for our Etchr calendar so you can keep up to date on our demos, events, and podcasts. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment area, and I will feed them into Maylee as needed or hold them to the end for a Q&A session. And I am now going to turn everything over to Maylee. Watch for some links that I'll drop in. And I've also sent you all the reference photo. So now over to Maylee.
Are we good? Yeah. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. So glad to see you around. So I'm Maylee. I'm an illustrator and 3D artist from France. Today we will be painting botanical elements with watercolor and gouache. And for those who are not familiar with my work, I can show you a couple of drawings in the same style I've been doing recently. So we'll be focusing like on a plant, a single plant element like this. And I provided like, how to say, a mood board, which will be used as a main inspiration for the whole drawing. I'm not going to be copying like a single picture, but more taking inspiration from different elements I like in every single photo. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, I will be focusing mostly on using acrylic gouache and pens together. So I will be taking you through my process of painting and then refining the painting at the very end with a pen to get a very crisp looking details. And I think that's it. Oh, good. Should we turn over to the desk?
Yes.
Okay, let's go. Let me switch the camera. Is everything clear and good?
Yes, everything looks excellent.
Awesome. So I'm going to move up the microphone. So I made two drawings. I'm not sure we'll be able to go through the two of them, so I will be focusing mostly on this one. Can I zoom in quite a bit? Yes. So I have a sketch here, which was made like in color pencil. I usually like sketching in color pencil because it gives like a natural look to the paint when you paint on top of it, because the pigment will be mixing quite a bit with the paint, and it will give like a blue undertone to the whole painting, and it's something I kind of like. And I usually like to start by how to say, a gradient. So I'm going to be using like a very small amount of paint and then dilute it with a lot of water to get like a very first watercolory like underlayer. Let me grab it. So I'm going to be using a bit of pink and just a bit of blue. Using a lot of water. Adding some water to my well, and then usually I like to start with the first layer of clean water, just like this. which will help me create like a very beautiful and very soft gradient, because I'm going to be using like a wet on wet paint. So I'm going to start by, and you can already see like the pigment already mixing with the water. So we get like this kind of blue texture. And I'm going to pick some blue first. Going from top to bottom. I'm going to get just a bit of pink and moving my way up. And in the middle, with just a small amount of clean water, I'm going to be helping the pigment mixing together. So we will get like this very nice translucent purple. And while I'm here, I'm going to see if I can apply a layer of paint on this one as well, so it has a background. So clean water, then a very small amount of paint on top of it. And I'm going to be doing like the opposite, like pink on top, blue on the bottom, to have a bit of, variation. But it's basically the same process. And at this stage, yeah, I'm using acrylic wash, but at this stage we could totally be using watercolor instead. We would get something pretty similar. The only thing I like the most with acrylic wash is that I get really, really high pigmented and very vivid colors. I don't get such vibrancy with my watercolors, so this is why I like to stick with acrylic wash lately. And I'm going to be drying out with a hairdryer to speed up the process. Okay. So it's dry, and you can see it already dried a bit lighter than how it was when the paper was wet, which is what I really like. So we're going to get like a very subtle, soft gradient background, which is not going to be empowering and not competing too much with the plant in the foreground, which is something I try to be mindful of.
Can you tell us why you've chosen acrylic wash, which is not very well known, as opposed to gouache and watercolor?
Like I was saying just before, it's mostly because of the vibrancy of it. And maybe I could find an equivalent in terms of watercolor and gouache, but I feel like I just get more vibrant and saturated colors in general with acrylic gouache. And also the fact that I really love the way that it dries permanently. So it's a bit easier to do layers on top of each other, because I don't risk reactivating something that's beneath it because it's dried permanently. So it's a bit easier to layer in general, I feel, compared to gouache, to regular gouache. And right now, so I still have like quite a lot of paint diluted with a lot of water in my mixing pool here. And I'm just going to take just a bit of it because I don't want to waste it. And I'm going to be, let me use a different brush. Drawing some very soft background elements. Again, the paint is going to be very diluted, so it's going to be very light, very soft. But it's just going to help making a more complete and interesting drawings. I like to have something interesting going on in the background.
So for those of you who are not familiar with acrylic wash, it is unlike watercolor, its binder is acrylic paint. It's matte acrylic paint. Now, we were discussing off screen earlier, just to make sure we were on the same page, that you can get a nice transparency with acrylic wash, like you see here in Maylee's piece. And I'm going to I'll put some information about the acrylic wash in our little comment area, just in case anybody is not familiar, because it's not a very commonly used medium.
Oh, also, I want to say that I've been using a lot of gouache and watercolors before that, but one of the main reasons why is also because I was gifted this amazing set of acrylic gouache at Christmas, this last Christmas, and now I just can't stop using it because it's beautiful and I'm really loving it. But I was using watercolor and gouache before, so it's just, trying something new and making the best use of my Christmas gift, I guess. So I'm just painting some very simple leaf shaped for the background. I don't want to get too detailed or too dark because, again, they're just background elements, so we don't want them to be competing with the star of the show, which is the plant in the foreground. Just using abstract shapes. Okay. Just going to be doing a few more here as well. But at some point, I will probably have to leave this one alone and focus on this one.
And as we were sharing earlier, acrylic wash cannot be reanimated with water. It is because it is because of the acrylic being the binder.
Exactly, it dries permanently, so that's why I'm trying to be mindful about the amount of paint I'm using in my palette, because once it's dry, it's wasted. So I'm always trying to reuse what I have in my palette. I just don't really enjoy wasting paints. Okay, so we have a gradient in the background and then some soft gradient, soft background details. So I'm going to be drawing once more.
All right, I'm dropping in a whole bunch of information here on the acrylic wash for everybody. Like I said earlier, Maylee is using the Holbein acrylic wash. Now here is the difference between watercolors and acrylic wash. And it really comes down to binders and pigmentation.
Okay, so I think we're good for this layer. So now, let's see. So we have a flower. So I think I'm going to be reusing the same pink for the flower. Let me see. I still have some pink here, so I'm going to be using this one right here. I can pick it up and just put it in my out of the blue paint and then use it here in the mini palette. Again, for the flower, I tested a few things, and I think I generally like the flowers being, again, more transparent layers. I feel like it works more with the nature of the element I'm painting. Like usually flower petals are already translucent. So I will keep a very diluted amount of paint once again here.
And you're not using a very large brush.
Yeah, I've been using like this brush from Etchr, which I really like. I think it's a rigger, that's how you call it. So it's a very long brush, and I think it's initially made for like small details and long lines like this, but I don't know, I just feel like very easy to use and I keep using it. I could be using a bigger brush, especially for filling the flower right now, but I don't know. I just like sticking to this brush. I feel like it fits me very well.
And that looks like one of the gouache brushes, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Really good one. Let me see, can I add like a bit of blue? And I'm using like the hot press sketchbook as well, which I really, really enjoy. It's a really good one. Some blue in the middle, right? The pink paint is still wet. So if I add a bit of blue, it's going to be mixing very softly with the pink around it.
So you have a message from our chat area. Tay Tay is encouraging you today.
Oh, thank you, Tay Tay. Good to see you. Yeah. How sweet. So glad to have like some friends around. Okay, so one thing I really like to emphasize whenever I'm painting plants, again, there are a lot of different variations when it comes to nature. The variations are endless, but I really have like this thing, and I think it's happening in some of the plants in my mood board. I really love when the how to say, the leaves are green, but usually on some plants, the stem ends up being either pink or purple or brown, and it really creates a nice contrast between the green of the leaves and the stem of the plant. There is one image in my reference mood board that has this very strong contrast, and this is an idea I like to reuse in my plants drawing because it looks beautiful. So I'm going to be painting a pink purple stem on this plant here. I need to turn over the sketchbook though, because it's going to be a bit easier to draw this very long line. This is the main purpose of this brush, I think, doing these lines precisely. Trying to thicken the bottom of it. Shouldn't be too heavy-handed. And while it's still wet like this, I'm all about gradients. When I talk about my work, I just keep talking about the way I use gradients, and I always try to have a lot of gradients going on. So we already have like one in the background with the blue becoming pink, from blue to pink. And usually in plants, there are a lot of gradients going on, and very often on the stems as well. So I'm going to pick just a bit of blue. And while my last line is still wet, I'm going to apply it at the very bottom like this. So it's going to create a very nice transition from blue to purple as it goes to the top. Sorry, I'm out of frame. Yeah, and I just keep turning my sketchbook over. I don't really mind doing it. It's really helpful. Let me see. Yeah, I'm going to be using the same purple for these little details here. Maybe this one as well. So yeah, again, gradient going from top to bottom. Okay, I'm gonna dry this once again.
Okay, well, we have a moment. I'm going to drop in a link for Maylee's mini workshop. It is a 90-minute workshop. It is $6 and will be on July 13th. Put that in here.
All right, so now I want to be using greens because, well, it's time to paint the leaves. So I have like these two favorite colors that I keep using for my plant drawings, which is this leaf green and emerald green, emerald green, sorry. And once again, I'm going to be using like this gradient idea. So I'm going to be painting the leaves at the top of the plant with this lemon green. And then as I will go down, I will slightly shift the color to this emerald green. So we will have like a very nice gradient going from top to bottom once again. It's all about gradient. It's just my thing. So, and now I'm using the green. I'm also be working with a bit more opacity. So I will be covering these background details, which are for now are painted on top of the leaves, but they will be covered thanks for the paint opacity. And I think, yeah, I still have some blue going on here. So I'm going to be, maybe, is this a dangerous thing to do? I don't know. Let's figure it out. No, okay. Yeah, I want to use this blue here and maybe mix it with the emerald green for the very last leaves. So it will go from this to this to this, from top to bottom. Okay. Maybe I should use, yeah, I'm going to be using a bigger brush right now.
So we've got a limited promotion that starts today at noon Eastern Standard Time and runs through Saturday as well. So I'm going to put this information in here. It's a link on special promotion, discount for first-time attendees. Please take a moment and check it out. This is for our masterclass recordings, which are our 3-hour sessions. So I put that in there for everybody. And Maylee is doing a lovely job. These colors are amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, this is the main reason I like those paints so much. They're so, so vibrant, so beautiful. Yeah, for the, I don't know how you call it. Is it like a blossom? Like it's a closed flower, but I forgot the English word for it. But for this one, I'm going to be mixing a bit of green and just a bit of pink. So we get like a color which is going to be in between this and this. And I think it's going to make a nice transition. And this is something I'm always trying to aim as well. Whenever I'm trying to have two very, how to say, very strong colors together in a painting, to make them match together, I try to have a mix of them at some other point of the painting. So it will help make everything more harmonious in general. So we have this strong pink, this strong green, but then we have this color which is the child of these ones, and it helps making the whole thing works together.
Now, can you talk to people about if they don't have acrylic wash, how they can mix their gouache and watercolor together to get the same or similar effects?
So technically, yeah, you could use only watercolor for the steps I've been doing right now, just watercolor with a regular amount of water to get these very transparent layers. And whenever, I mean, you will be able to use opaque gouache layers on top of it. It's going to be working no problem, I think. And if you really want to make your gouache even more covering, you can even mix it with titanium white, which will make a more covering consistency to work with. So for now, the steps I'm doing, I think you could totally follow them with watercolor and gouache, no problem. I'm still working with a lot of transparency, so at this stage I could probably have been using watercolor only. But then I want to slowly, at the end of the drawing, I will be using more and more opacity, which can be achieved with regular gouache as well.
Yeah, you could do this with watercolor, but you're not, the colors are vibrantly different.
Yeah, I think so. But maybe you can find very vibrant watercolors. I mean, I have a set that has very muted colors, but maybe there is something of that kind that exists. I'm just not an expert, so maybe I never found anything like this, but it's maybe possible. I'm thinking like mostly about, liquid watercolors, like I don't remember the name. These ones.
That's okay.
Yeah, this one, Ecoline watercolor, which could be probably have like a similar vibrancy. Okay, so I'm mixing a bit of my, let me see, yeah, bright green with the emerald green to get a color in between. And right now here, this is where you couldn't be using watercolor anymore. Suddenly it becomes way more opaque. It has a totally different look.
So we're just approaching our 30-minute mark. I'm going to drop in our feedback survey as well. Please take a moment. It's 100% anonymous. Take a moment. Let us know how we're doing. And I believe there's even a section in there now for what you'd be looking for in the future. So just let us know how we're doing. It takes 2 to 3 minutes.
So yeah, right now I want to cover these background elements. So I need opaque paint in this case. So I'm using like a way more concentrated mix, way thicker. And you can see that it's totally covering what's behind it. If you were going with watercolor here, you would still see what's behind it. That's the main difference. And once again, sometimes I like to keep doing another gradient, this time within the leaf itself. So I can be slowly switching from one color to another within the leaf. So I'm going to be picking, let's say, maybe a bit of pink here, and then have this transition going on here. So, it's not like a uniform color.
everybody is enjoying your process and complimenting your work.
Thank you.
When you decide to paint along or want to share any of your artwork, please tag us at #EtchrStudio. We love to see everybody's work. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, share your work on there. It also puts you in a pool to win weekly prizes. There's also a Facebook group. It's a private group, and you can share in there, ask questions, build bonds with other people. I know so many people in these groups have started chatting together and teaming up and working together as well. So #EtchrStudio, and please join the Facebook group. It's private. Your work questions, comments are not all over Facebook. They're only in this group, and it is a very supportive group.
I'm trying to see if I have like some pink. Yeah. There is a detail I wanted to add here. So I always try to make the drawing as interesting as I can. So I really have like a very, how to say, look closer at my reference and find small details that make the plant interesting. And usually these are things we don't really notice at a first glance, but we can, if you pay attention, you will see that the leaves most of the time have a lot of small imperfections. There would be spider webs between the leaves and some details on the stems like this. And I really look to this whenever I'm taking pictures and looking at them, because I think that's what makes like the drawing a bit different and not so generic. I think I need to dry here because I want to paint like the bottom of this sleeve, but I don't want, since it's still wet here, I don't want the paint to mix together. So I'm going to be drying quickly.
And she's not going to be able to reactivate that. So even just a quick dry, she'll be able to use the acrylic wash to go in and work on the next section, and they won't bleed together, peel, or bloom. So it's an interesting medium to work with. And just dropped in our link for our EtchrStudio website. That's got everything on there, our calendar, our all the supplies that we offer, workshops, live demos, and podcast information as well.
I'm just adding a bit more paint here because we could still see the background elements. And I think I want to paint the bottom of this leaf somehow blue because it's turning away, and I think it would look nice. Sometimes it doesn't always have a reason, but I feel like making it blue. So let's go for, blue, but at this point it's still, my palette is going to be quite messy, and the colors are going to merge together in a very interesting way. So my blue is actually tainted with a bit of green, which is a good thing because it's going to make everything belong together. So that's a good thing. And maybe, I don't know, I think I'm out of pink. Let's see if I can find some. Yeah, I think it's dry. No, we still have some. Okay, so I'm just adding a bit of pink here to have like a very soft gradient once again, going from here to here. Just very subtle, but again, I love gradient. Okay, I'm going to need to dry once again.
I'm going to drop in the link for the mini workshop on July 13th. And these cost $6, which is a big Starbucks drink, for 90 minutes. And Maylee will be doing a slightly larger plant image using acrylic wash and showing the transparency. And this piece here.
Yeah, it will be this one. So we will be painting this together, which is, we're going to be applying the same ideas, but it will be like a full framed image like this with like a proper background and, you know, with a frame. And we'll get to dive deeper into these techniques, and I will be able to break down things a bit more. Okay, so let me see. So now this is where I think I want to use some lighter color. So I'm going to be introducing some white into my palette. And I want to mix it with a bit of my green here to have a slightly lighter color. And I'm going to be drawing, I need to test it. Yeah. It has to be light enough to be visible, but yeah, that's the idea. And I'm going to be painting some designs on the leaves, taking in consideration what I have in my reference. So most of the time I'm just, you know, following the veins of the leaves. But I don't want to draw like every single detail or every single vein on the plant, but more like suggests them.
You're using your artistic license.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to design things instead of copying them directly to make things my own a bit more. And maybe here in the back of this one. And for the one in the bottom, I want to mix a color again with a bit of white, but with a bit of my emerald green. And I don't want it to be too light. Let me see if I can get something interesting. Yeah, something like this. So I always try to make these details, I mean, interesting, but still quite subtle. They're just a suggestion of the leaf volume and shape. How do I want to paint this one? Okay, like this. So I keep in mind that I have like the middle main vein here going on, and I'm gonna be drawing those details on both sides of it.
Just drop the link again for the limited time promotion for our master classes, which starts today at noon and runs through Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. This whole time you've been using the one brush, is that correct?
Yeah, I've been using this one a couple of times for
Okay.
the background. Yeah, some background elements, but most of the time, yeah, I use this one. I just stick to this brush. I really like it. Okay, let me see. I think I want to try having some brighter pink within the flower. Not sure if it's gonna work. So I also have a tendency to figure a lot of things on the go. So sometimes even if I have a plan, I will go back and, fix things because I suddenly feel that it would look better this way. So let's move away from the initial plan.
That's okay. You're the artist. You can make those choices.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Adding a bit of touch of pink where usually there is a very subtle small gradient going on where the leaves are touching the stem. So again, this is a detail that I really like, so I'm emphasizing this. And okay, I'm gonna try it once more.
Still receiving some wonderful feedback. Jamie from Mexico says beautiful work, nice technique. So I enjoy watching everyone's process because everybody works so differently, and she handles these acrylic washes beautifully. Drop in our feedback survey again. Like I said, just takes a few moments. Let us know how we're doing. And I believe there's even a section in there for something you're looking for in the future from Etchr. Takes about 2 to 3 minutes and is 100% anonymous.
So thank you, Jamie, by the way. So glad you're enjoying this. So now we're gonna dive into my favorite steps of the paintings, which are first the highlights, and then it will be the pen details. But the highlights are pretty fun part. So I'm gonna be using some pure white in this case and add some very bright details on some of the elements. It's really important to not overdo it because when it comes to highlight, it feels like everything suddenly looks so nice. And we as artists can have a tendency to really overdo it because it feels great. But at some point, if you do it too much, it's just like sugar, it will be too much. So you have to be, I think, light-handed. Again, it's just a personal taste kind of thing, but I feel like sometimes I regret adding so many highlights. So I always have to be mindful with the amount of white I'm using. In the middle of the flower here, I think could be interesting. A small dots here and there. Again, I like looking at my reference, and this is where I usually notice that there are some scratches and very small details, sometimes insects or things like this on the leaves. And these little white dots I'm making could be any of these natural details. They have a lot of imperfection, and I think that's what makes the nature so beautiful. Maybe here and here. All right. Let's try it.
I'm going to drop in our Etchr Studio information again. Hashtag Etchr Studio to share your artwork with us. Let's get you into a weekly drawing for something Etchr-ish and sharing it with our community as well.
All right, so we're coming to my favorite part, which is the pen details. So I'm going to be using these colored fine liners. You don't need to have so many colors, but I just own every single one of them because I love them so much. Usually I go with a darker version of the color I'm using in the painting. So I'm going to be outlining the leaves with some dark green and this green as well, I think. And I'm going to be using this red, very, yeah, it's not really red or pink, dark pink for the stem. And for the flower, I'm going to be using this one. So let's start with the flower. So this is really my favorite step because it suddenly cleans up everything in the painting. It helps me make everything look more sharp in general. So I'm going to be outlining elements like this. Also, I'm trying to be very mindful with my lines and not closing everything. So I'm leaving some gaps here and there to make my line more interesting. I can even, zoom in a bit. You can see a bit better.
We have about 10 minutes left.
Sounds good. I was wondering if I could have everything fit within the 1 hour range, but it's going pretty well. That's great. Yeah, I'll be using some dark pink. So I will be switching from one color to another, depending on what element I'm outlining. And sometimes, just like this, within the same element, I'm going to be switching from one pen to another to have a bit of color line variation. I always end up with so many pens on my desk after this. And again, if you're very comfortable with paint, you could totally do this stage with a very, very fine, very small brush and some opaque paint or ink even. But I just find those pens so easy and so nice to use. So I just, get back to the pens. It's a bit easier to make, cleaner line with pens instead of brushes, especially at a small scale, small drawing scale like this. So here the leaves is bright green, so I'm using this lime green pen. You can see it makes this beautiful outline. We're gonna keep it and do this one as well.
If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in our chat area and we will cover them in our last 10 minutes.
I'm also drawing a couple of paints here and there. I like to do double lines like this. I just feel like, I don't know, it makes the line more interesting to have like a twin next to it. once in a while. So yeah, I would do something like this. So one line and then another line next to it. But not always, but sometimes. I feel like it looks really interesting. And you can really see how the pen brings everything together, certainly.
It's a nice touch instead of using just a black or a sepia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really have this thing for colored line. I love black and sepia, but whenever I'm painting or drawing, I can't help using colored lines. It's just, I just can't get getting back to them. I guess that's my thing.
Part of your style.
Yeah. Also trying to have like, keep my lines pretty fairly small and thin. We don't want them to make the painting look heavy, too overworked. So this is why I like using those brush pens, because I have like a lot of line variation and I can get those very crisp, fine line details.
And the acrylic wash doesn't fight back, pill up when you run over it with the pen. They all work together quite nicely.
Exactly. This is another reason why I like it so much, because if I were using gouache, like regular gouache, the pen would have a tendency to reactivate the gouache, and it would potentially damage the pen somehow, because it will pick up some paint pigment on the tip. It's workable though. I think you can do it, but I know for sure that acrylic gouache won't move, and it's not going to end up mixing in a weird way with my pen color. It stays in place, and this is why I like it so much. I like to add like some last minute details as well. So some, how do you call it? A bug bite. some leaves get eaten by bugs, and it makes them look interesting as well. So whenever I'm using the pen, sometimes I will add this very small detail.
That's true, because in nature they're not all perfect.
Yeah.
They've got their little nicks and dry spots, and
and it makes them so interesting to paint and draw. Okay, I'm going to be using this blue maybe, because I have I have a pen for every occasion. This is why I own so many colors, because I can switch whenever I go, and I always have the perfect color for the paint and outlining. Okay, dark green. And maybe, well, I have like a dark purple, so I'm going to be outlining this area here. And I can go back with my darker line and add some little shadows here and there, darker spots. Oh, and I forgot to outline this one here. Let's see. Which are totally made up elements, by the way. I just merged everything together in one single plant. So I added those weird seeds here. I just think it looks cool, but it's not, it's not a real plant. I'm going to be slowly, carefully, outlining the stem here. Again, interrupting my line once in a while, making some dots and dashes instead of a plain line. Yeah, pretty good. We have like 4 minutes left.
We have about 4 minutes left.
Okay, good. And then this is something I like to do also at the very end. I like to add some bokeh elements. If there are any photographer in the audience, you might know what bokeh is. These are those very light spot out of focus, and it makes some rounds in the background of photographs. And I think it's a very beautiful details when it comes to photographs. So I've been lately adding fake bokeh circles like this to my paintings, and I think it looks really nice, really interesting. So I'm just going to be making some, white circles like this in the background. Some going behind the leaves, grouping some of them as well. And adding some sparkles and small dots here and there in the background to add a bit of magic.
Ramona says it could be a real plant. There are some beautiful ones we never see that are under the sea. So yes.
Oh, totally. It could be, yeah. Oh, and something I really love adding is those spider web details. I don't know, I've been looking at plants in real life, and most of them have some very small, thin spider webs between some leaves. And again, I think it looks super interesting in a drawing, so I like to add them sometimes in the end. Just like this. And yeah, I think that's it.
That's great. If we have any questions, we have about 2 minutes left. Feel free to drop them in our comment box. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. This
Thank you so much.
Was wonderfully educational and tempting to go shopping right after too.
I knew it. Get some gouache. Yeah, I really hope you enjoyed. It went fairly well. I'm pretty happy with it. I will probably be painting this one later. And yeah, it's all about these small details that make interesting imperfection.
Can you share the piece that we'll be working on in the mini workshop?
Yeah, sure. Okay, let me dry quickly because I don't want to.
Thank you, everybody, for attending today. This was very informative. I love watching her technique as well.
Okay, so let's zoom out quite a bit. There we go. So this will be the piece we'll be focusing on. So I've been trying a lot of different variation in order to find a result that I like. And I think we'll settle on something like this. This time we will be following a photo reference of mine way very closely, not like today where I was inventing some plants. So it will be more looking at the reference and finding way to design things and emphasize some details and discard some of them. And yeah, again, we will have like a more detailed background, but we will be using the same technique, but more going in depth with those things I've been doing today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it. and
Me too. I'm
probably
so
have
excited.
some by then.
Yes, finally. Good.
Thank you, everybody. I hope you all
Thanks,
have
everyone.
a wonderful day. Thank you all for coming. We definitely enjoyed today and the process. I hope to see some
I had a
familiar
nice time.
faces.
Thank you so much for being here. Looking forward to seeing you later. Have a nice day.